Hi there, you are tuned into Beauty and Braids, the podcast where I, Karyne, has conversations about all things relevant to personal growth and development. Just a heads up, I'm unfiltered. You're welcome. Okay, so guys, I am here with my client, Tameka Vasquez. And it's so funny right now, I'm literally braiding her hair, and you know the podcast is Beauty and Braids. And we're always having conversations, and it's literally snowing. Look that way. Wow. Okay, it just happened. Okay, so we're having this conversation while I was braiding her hair, and I was like, whoa, we had to put it on pause, and I was like, let's make this a podcast. So I actually met Tameka at Black Women in Media, and you were doing like a workshop on business strategy. And I had my camera and I just started taking pictures. I was like, oh, she looks so cute. Let me just take mad pictures of her. And I just sent it to her. Because sometimes I just do that. I'm not a photographer. I'm just a girl with a camera. And since then, she knew I was braiding. And we talked about painless braiding. And she was like, she needed a painless braider. And here we are today, right? So, yes. I was telling her about getting rid of my clothes and things like that because it was like a clutter, and we ran onto the topic of therapy, and I was like, I just had the last session with my therapist, and Tameka, this is where we started.
Yeah.
So you wanted to hear more about my last session?
Yes.
Okay, so I started therapy last year in August. It literally was like God made it possible. I went in for a doctor's appointment, and you know my insurance finally kicked in, so I went in, and the doctor seen me, and I was in the waiting room, and this guy came out of nowhere and was like, "Hey, we offering a service, like a counseling service with your insurance. Would you like to partake?" I said, "Yeah." Like, whoa. And he was like, okay, when do you want to start? I said, like, now. And for those of you who have tuned into my other podcast, you know the beginning of this story. So I was like, this is literally on time, because I was about to have a nervous breakdown. Like, it was this guy kind of like broke my heart, didn't understand it. I was like, well, why would you do this to me? And then it was like, you know what, maybe I'm making the wrong decisions. And when I started taking the sessions with therapy, I realized I'm responsible for how people treat me, because that's how I'm treating myself. And, you know, follow the leader. And it was about self-love. So I have just been pouring myself into self-love. And my therapists have really given me like that insight when I started questioning myself. Like, I'm like, I no longer take that much time in making decisions anymore. When a guy comes to me, I'm like, I already know we're not gonna work. Like, you know, like, I'm like, why waste time in trying to figure it out when you're not what I want? You're not on the same. I want me. That's what I realized. I'm like, I want who I am, and as I'm building myself and fixing what needs to be fixed, that's the person I want. And when I see guys who are they're not planning or taking you out on dates, they're just oh my God, what happened? Oh my God, the snow? They literally just sent the message warning.
I don't even know what just happened.
It's literally a blizzard. Wow.
This came out
Dreaming
of
a white Christmas?
No, I'm not.
OMG. Okay.
Wow.
So we're like staring out the window, guys, and this is what I wish you could see what's happening. It was not snowing, and it was not in the forecast.
What? It was not.
I did not come prepared. Anyways, so it is a white out. OMG, I can't see none of the buildings. Okay, so So now I'm in therapy, and my, the days are going by. I went in there for like dating, learn, relationships, all types of relationships, friendships. And I started realizing some people weren't even real friends, and some people were like just in the way, serving as distractions. And I was like, why am I tiptoeing around hurting people's feelings when they don't mind hurting mine? Like, breaking my heart without a problem. And I'm sitting here like, maybe I shouldn't tell. You know what? So I started telling people like, okay, you hurt me, and I'm going to tell you, I'm going to make you aware of it. And if you continue doing that, then obviously you don't care. And if I accept that, then I don't care about myself and how I feel. So that shows that there's a problem with my self-love. So when I started doing that, I started feeling so good. Vibrations was getting a bit higher, and I was like, the energy is, and I started attracting the people who were at that level instead of the people who were treating me how I was treating myself. And my last session, I was like, I started clearing out. Before my last session, I automatically felt like I should clear out my apartment, get rid of things that's not serving me, that I haven't even looked at, that's just there. The quantity wasn't what I needed. Like, just having all this stuff is no longer resources, they're just clutter. And I was just like, I got rid of people, I got rid of clothes, I was like, I ain't never even gonna wear this, I ain't never gonna call this person. Like, I'm just like, I don't even care. Like, so when I started freeing myself of that care and that worry, I started feeling free. Like, anxiety started lowering. By the time I went to therapy, he was, they did their questions like, where am I on the scale of like depression and anxiety? And he was like, you're at an all-time low. I'm like, yes. I was like, thank you so much.
And this was over the course of how much time?
I seen him almost every week on a Monday since August. Was it like maybe August 17? Yeah. It took a lot of time. I didn't even know. I went into therapy thinking I'm not going to cry. I'm just going to say what I want to say. And then I just started crying in different sessions. I'm like, oh, shoot, where did this come from? And it was healing. And I was just like, yo, you can't judge me because you're supposed to be.
It's your job.
This is your job to hear me and not look at my ugly cries. And I was just like, yo, because I was tired of talking to people that didn't get it.
Yeah.
And they're just like, you will be okay. You will be okay. Like, no, there's something deep, deep rooted in why I keep finding these guys and why I keep over shopping and all, like it just was like, what am I avoiding?
Yep.
And the thing what I was really avoiding is looking at myself, seeing myself, all my flaws, all my errors.
Yep.
I can't believe it's snowing. The weather outside is.
It's legit day and night right now. It was. I just asked him if he wanted to turn on the light so we could get a little bit more light in here, and now the sun is completely gone.
The sun was literally just setting.
Yeah, it was just right there.
I'm there like, okay, I'm there. I'm on my last braid. I'm gonna be okay. It came with 3 flakes, and it was like a whole cover.
It was waiting.
Oh shoot! What? Ugh. I cannot. Oh shoot! It's a white Christmas. What? Okay, so anyway, and now I'm in Jersey, so guys, I gotta go back to Brooklyn, and it's a whiteout. Yeah, it's pre-recorded, so yeah, you'll be listening to this in 2020. Which, Happy New Year, anyways.
Happy New Year. Happy new decade.
So wait, first of all, Tameka, when I had said that I had my last session, you told me you got fired by your therapist.
Yeah, I did.
How do you get fired by your therapist?
So it's as simple as this. I was not as committed to the process as I should have been, and her number one requirement was for her clients to be in a mindset where they're committed. So my work schedule is really, really ridiculous. Not that it's an excuse, but I was sort of treating therapy as like, you know, if I really, really can't make it this week, I'm not gonna prioritize and move around other things to prioritize this. And that's actually the wrong approach, because it's sort of like when you try to save money, the first thing you have to do is pay yourself before you pay your bills and everything else. It's the same thing. Before you try to live your life and go to work and deal with family and friends and relationships, the first thing you need to do is take care of your mind. And so she didn't feel like I was mature enough in the process of therapy to even start to prioritize my life so that this comes first. Or even if it doesn't come first, that it doesn't get moved, or it's non-negotiable in the way that I was approaching it. And so she sort of just called me up one day after I missed my third session. It wasn't 3 in a row, but after I missed my third, she called me up and she was pretty much like, look, you know, my job is to be a mental guide for you. But my job is also to point out things that you might not see. And I'm starting to notice that I don't think you're ready to really take this on and really make this a priority for you. And so she was like, you know, I'd rather just pause all sessions until you get to the mindset where you can commit to this 100%, because I dive all the way deep in and I need my clients to do that with me.
Whoa.
So yeah. And I couldn't believe it, because in my head I'm like, I'm paying you, so
right,
why are you
like,
mad?
You know, like, help me. This
Why
is my
you
problem.
Yeah.
This is why I'm here. Like,
This is exactly why I'm here.
You
But
gonna fire me? Like,
exactly.
Is it that bad?
I didn't think it was, but I think in retrospect, looking back, I think she was right, because I don't think I was prioritizing it. I do think I saw it as optional. I didn't have a specific thing that I was trying to achieve with therapy, which I think was a huge hindrance in my ability to then prioritize it. So because I didn't have this one thing that I wanted to achieve from it, I wasn't able to navigate it the same way as you're like, okay, I'm going to work because I need a paycheck. I'm doing this because I need this outcome. I wasn't approaching therapy that way. So I think in retrospect, looking back at it, she was actually right for doing that, because it was a wake-up call for me to actually look at this as like, it's not just because you're paying her that means she's just going to sit there and see that you're not fully committed and still proceed with the service. It's that you have to realize that there's something to be gained from this and prioritize it enough that to the extent that it's not just transactional, that this is going to be your mental guide and a relationship that you really work on building with this professional who's going to help you reach that goal. So I think with you going into it like, okay, I want to specifically work on how I'm navigating relationships in my life, that's a goal. So you were able to then structure what you talk about, how you become vulnerable, all that stuff. I didn't have a goal. I just thought, okay, well, I should probably get therapy because I have terrible anxiety. I don't sleep well. I don't know what the core issues are, but I should probably just go to therapy. Whereas now I think, you know, I don't have a therapist right now. I do want to go back into it pretty soon. But I think now I have a much clearer view as to, no, these are actually my specific triggers. And these are the things that I know I need to work on. And if a therapist is going to be, you know, there on a weekly basis or a bi-weekly basis, whatever sort of schedule you set up with them, then I'll know every week, every 2 weeks, this is my time to actually deal with this particular area of my life or these particular areas of my life. So, you know, I definitely I definitely got fired by my therapist. It is true. But I think it worked out for the better. And who knows, I might even go back to that same person, because there's no hard feelings at the end of the day.
She saved you money.
Yeah, she saved me money. She saved me time. And she also made me think about the therapy process much more maturely than just like, oh, I'm going to just go and talk about some stuff and see what happens. So for what it's worth, I'll definitely, that's definitely top of my list, like within my top 3 things that I need to do going into the new year and the new decade.
I swear, I think it's 2020, you know, clear vision.
Definitely.
And it's like focus.
Definitely.
And when I think about therapy, I literally was saying this to myself in the shower. Therapy is like going to school. It's like a course on yourself.
Yep.
And you're counselor, your therapist is the person, the instructor, the professor who's basically helping you navigate through your life journey and seeing the connections and the dots. And once you do that, you graduate. Mm-hmm. Like, therapy is not something I feel that you need forever. It's something that's supposed to help you get what you need, the tools, and then you move on. If you need it forever, then you might need to minor in something, like minor in love, just to get right. Because it's a lot going on in people's brains, and there's a lot of experiences over the years that we have lived. So we've lost, we've loved, we've gained, like, it's a whole bunch of things that happen. And it's so weird because when I started this podcast, I didn't want to only make it about therapy, but I was such an advocate once I got therapy. Like, I was like, oh my God, like it saved friendships because I wasn't dumping on my friends, like, and I wasn't allowing people to dump on me. I knew the difference. Like, where people are just like, hey girl, how you doing? And all they're doing is getting ready to tell you the tea, or get ready to unload on you. And it's like,
it's a lot.
And to have a therapist, and they need therapy because
they usually have therapists. Right? Therapists usually have therapists. That's the thing.
And and it's like, I used to work at a psychiatric hospital, so I've dealt with different personalities, different energies. All of that can be toxic, and it can also, like, when you are taking care of people and things like that, you feel emotional and tied to them, and so I was able to release. And it's so crazy how I felt like getting rid of everything that was in my way right before my last session with therapy, and it came to the close, and it was just like, I felt like I was done. Like, I might have to go later on for like a refresher course later, but I felt like I did learn a lot about myself, a lot about people who were in my life that was just holding on and taking up space. They were dead weight, and I just didn't want to say the words that I needed to say, which would hurt their feelings. But I was just like, I'd rather hurt your feelings than hurt mine.
Yeah.
And that's self-love.
That's a whole thing by itself, is what does self-love mean, and how does therapy help you through that? I think sometimes a lot of stuff are connected because it's just behavioral patterns that you have that may impact you across every category of your life. So you might go into therapy, in your case, for a specific area. And I actually think that's the way to approach it. Like I said before, I actually do believe you should have very specific areas that you want to go deep into. So that's the best way to do it. But what you very quickly realize is like, okay, I have this behavioral pattern and this habit in this area. Most likely that is the same behavioral pattern that I have in other areas that's impeding on my progress as a person. Because a person isn't just what you do for a living, and a person isn't just who you're with and what your group of friends are, or just your culture. You as a person are inclusive of all of those things and more. So you realize, like, okay, my behavioral patterns might be impacting me across all of these things, and you don't know how to dig into that until you get into the whole therapeutic process. And then it becomes, the whole thing about self-love becomes like, okay, now I'm releasing this, now I'm putting it out there, I'm exposing my wounds, I'm exposing my vulnerability. Do I now still love myself on the end of that? Right. And I think the biggest thing is that you actually learn to love yourself even more, because you're like, wow, I am just a human being. Like, I'm just a person just trying to figure this all out. It is not up to me to have all the answers. I'm here getting guidance from people who may have new perspectives and methodologies that I don't have. And now I still love myself on the end of now revealing this other part of me that I didn't even realize was there.
Exactly.
That is like the core of self-love. But I think it comes through your first step of saying, I know I need help in this area. Boom, okay, I now learn I have this pattern, these characteristics across these other areas. Boom, okay, now do I still like this person? And if I don't, okay, How do I start to modify it? And then that's how I show self-love, because I'm actually taking the steps to modify it.
Right. And I think the first step of going to therapy is an action of self-love. It's like taking yourself to a place that you know you need help. Like, it's like that whole narcissistic or just that ego where it's like, I don't need no help. I don't know.
You do.
I remember back in the days, everybody was like, you're so smart, and I was taking the same test, like, to get into college. It was a writing test. I was taking that essay over and over, I couldn't get in, and I had to go into a remedial class. And I was like, what is it? All the teachers that I was taking was like, you're perfect.
What's going on?
But I was like, but I'm not passing this test. I can't be perfect. Then this one teacher told me the truth. It was like, you have too much run-ons. You need to know where to place the commas. That's the end of a sentence. I was like, thank you. Once he did that, I understood what my problem was, and I passed. It was just like, stop babying me. I'm grown. If I'm asking the question, answer it. Don't try to hide the truth. And what I wanted from people is what I wasn't giving other people. Like, I was like, you know what? That is the problem. Give people the truth, and they'll like you for it. They won't like you right when you give it, but later on they come back and be like, you know what? You were right.
Yep.
You know, and honesty is like the best kind of friendship you can.
But it has to be like, and it's the same thing with you being honest with yourself. Yeah, it has to be honesty with empathy. You know, it's like, I could be honest with myself, but very, very hard on myself and very mean to myself. I could be honest with friends and just bypass what they may be struggling with and just be more focused on, well, all you got to do is this, or all you got to do is think this way, or, you know, and make them feel somehow guilty for their own struggle. So it's understanding mixed with empathy. Like, I hear you, I see you, I acknowledge you as a person, as a fellow human being. You look in the mirror, you even say that to yourself. You know, I see you, you're trying, you're doing the best you can. But here are some things that I've observed that, you know, I do see the potential of you being able to flourish and expand who you are as a person if you work on these things. And so you're approaching, you know, what's the next thing that person needs to do, or what's the next thing that you need to do with empathy. And I think that it goes so much more further as you start to dig into some of this stuff, because it gets deep, it gets personal, it gets uncomfortable, and people need to feel seen and heard the same way you need to feel seen and heard, and safe. That is definitely the key word.
When you're safe with yourself and you're like, yo, I love you unconditionally, like, let me really look at myself, and you just start seeing like, yo, you're beautiful. And then when you start looking at yourself like that and you're comfortable, you are now able to talk to friends in that same compassion and that same unconditional love, where it's like, I've been there. Like, I see you. Like, if you need to lie because you want to cover something up, I get it. But when, you know, and they're not going to open up if they don't feel safe, they feel judged. They'll open up when they can trust you. And it's all about trust. And that, with self-love, trusting myself. Like, if I can't trust myself, who can I trust? And that's why we got the gut feeling, the subconscious, all of that. And if you're not trusting yourself, where people be like, I got to second guess myself. No, I'm like, go with your first mind, because it's usually
correct.
It's, you know what I'm saying? And then you'll be like, man, this morning I said, should I bring my umbrella? I didn't go with my gut. I was there like, it's not in the forecast, and now it's snowing, and I named my umbrella. See what I'm saying? Like, I should have went, despite what it looks outside, walk by faith and not by sight. I should have just went with my gut, but I didn't. So the more I do that, and I'm saying that to myself, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna start really trusting myself, because I was right. I'm like, who else?
But it's a muscle that you learn. That whole concept of your instinct, that whole concept of like my gut, my intuition, all of those things are muscles that it just takes practice. As you practice it, that muscle gets stronger and stronger to the point where it can then lead you. And I think that that's another thing to work on in therapy is, how do I fall back and trust myself? How do I trust this internal guide that I was born with? And I don't even know how I have it. I just have it, but I need to be able to lean into it. That within itself is a whole thing to learn in therapy. It's like, how do I fall back and stop getting in my own way, listen to that inside voice, understand my gut reactions, understand how my body and my mind and my spirit might respond to certain situations in a certain way that tells me what to do next. How do I tap into that more? That's a whole muscle that I think people don't even realize that they're developing in the therapy process, but they are.
Because I feel like therapy, if you go to church or if you meditate and all of that, I think they all kind of intertwine, because when we think about, if the Bible says God lives within us, right? So when we're asking God for help, we're not listening, because we're not listening to ourselves. If he lives within us,
he's speaking through you.
Right. So he's our subconscious. He's a part of that, so he's the spirit, and we're spirit. So if we're not listening, if we're not taking time to be silent, we're never going to hear him. We're going to hear everybody else and their views that have sunk into our head, and now we're thinking that
you're tainted.
So it's like, what's right,
you
know what's wrong, you know what's for you, you know what's not. If anything makes you feel bad in any kind of way, it's not for you.
It's kind of going back to what we were talking about earlier before we started recording, is how much just outside influence, news, media, social media,
right,
your friend circle, how much that stuff might be getting into your mind and you're not even aware of it. If this stuff doesn't make you feel good or feel uplifted, there's a gut instinct there that's not telling you to remove yourself completely, but telling you to dial back. Maybe don't look at that the first thing in the morning. Does it set your day up on a positive path or not? You'll know that very quickly. Am I consuming information and insight and positivity and education? Am I consuming other people's bad moods and feelings and negativity and crime and danger? What am I consuming, and how am I reacting to that? Exactly. And then adjust based on how deep down you're reacting to it.
Exactly, because it's not about them. It's
really
about
isn't.
you.
You're not missing anything.
Right. So on that note, I ended up telling my therapist, I was there like, I started sleeping with my phone outside my room.
It's a good strategy.
And I was like, because normally I'll just reach over and be like, what's happening on Instagram?
Today, first thing in the morning.
So now I got to walk all the way over there. So I don't. I'll be like, okay, let me go back to sleep. Because sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night and can't go back to sleep. So I'll get on social media. Now I have to force myself to go back to sleep. Yeah. So I internally just knew that was what I needed. And I was like, you know what?
You're better for it.
Yeah. I was like, look at me adulting. Getting to know myself. And there's a lot of people, maturity comes with experience, not with age.
It's just experience,
There's a whole bunch of grown people that's walking around with
no idea.
And it's just like, and I've gotten people tell me oh, you surprise me with what you know. And I'm like, because I'm quiet, I'm observant, and I listen. I see what people need. I'm when I'm like, you might need some photos. I don't know. It's just something I'm trusting, and I'm just go without an agenda.
See, that's silence. Even though it's just your personality, I wish even people who don't have that personality had that ability to just be silent sometimes. Because you do observe things that other people would be surprised by. But you got to give yourself the chance to even consume that. How do you get to that point where it's I could quiet my mind, quiet my space, and even be able to realize things like that and read people like that? That's a gift.
See,
it's a gift.
I'm tapping into it.
Exactly. But it's something that you have it because it's part of you as a person and it's part of your core. But it's something that a lot of people could have if they even learned how to dial back and silence the space that they're in.
Yeah, some people talk just because they can
just
talk.
Because they can talk, not because they have something to say.
I mean, what are you gonna say? I usually cut people off. My family members, they'd be like, guess what? And I'll be like, get to the point. I'm busy. You might be busy. Like, I don't have time to guess. Like, just let me know. And they'll be stuttering or something like that, and I already know what they're about to say. They're like, oh, let me just tell it. And I'm like, but you're taking forever in a day. Like, so, like, I kind of just sit back and observe what people want to say, what they need, what they don't know they need. Like, and I just like, especially with guys now, I turned that trait.
Silence.
Yeah, I turned the trait to the guys. And I'm like, everybody wants sex. Like, why the hell would you approach somebody if you don't want, like, and then it's kind of like, but what are you offering?
Yeah. This is an exchange.
Okay, like, you know what I'm saying? I guess prostitutes are the only ones that get it.
That's it. But it's still an exchange.
Like, what am I offering? Are you building? Are you adding to me? Are you taking from me? Are you telling me I'm beautiful? I told myself that already.
Yeah, tell me something I don't know so I can expand my mind and, expand my perspective. What are you bringing into the space? Like, literally, that's always the question to ask.
Yeah, and I'm like, that's the type of guys I want. The ones that's looking to build, the ones that's in charity or something like that, giving back. Yeah. If I had
connected to the world somehow, like they're here, they're not just existing.
Right, and they got some type of education. Like, can you spell? Don't send me no text messages with Miss
Your.
You could mess up a couple of times, but if
you just don't know.
Bruh, and then you be so angry, like, oh no,
it messes up the entire interaction.
I don't even want to talk to you no more because you don't have nothing to give me. You don't have no knowledge. You can't build. I have a nonprofit. You ain't trying to donate. Like, I'm just trying to help people. So it's just kind of like I started listening instead of saying I just want a man. I'm like, nah, you're not even a man because I could do all of this that you're doing by myself. So therapy has really gotten me to see the red flags and the yellow flags and get out before I'm hurt. Like
just creating a protective grid around you. Everything is energy. Everything is energy. And for people who, if you practice any yoga or any meditation or anything, what you're learning how to do, like, people mistaken these things as like, this is a thing I'm doing, but it's actually a thing that you are growing through and learning through. It's not supposed to be like, I've mastered yoga. There's no such thing. That means you haven't, or I'm a master meditator. No, there's no such thing. Like, there's nothing to achieve here. What it is a process, and it's a journey where you learn how to silence your mind, how to silence your environment, how to read signals, how to interpret circumstances and situations that come your way as a person, and how to practice that muscle, that intuition, how to just be more connected and be able to consume energy. And that's always going to be the bottom line. If you get to that point, you'll never master that, so to speak, because there's always something new to learn. There's new experiences.
God. The more you know, the more you learn, the less you know.
Yeah. But that's actually the whole point. Once you start to ask more questions, better questions, you are more connected. You can read energy faster. You just keep growing. And that's why there's no such thing as like, I've mastered this. I've already done that. It's not a destination sort of thing. It's a journey thing.
It's next level.
Yeah, it's deep, and a lot of people aren't necessarily prepared for that. But that's why I always say, those practices are kind of baby steps that everybody should take, and then weave therapy into that. To add that layer of like, okay, this is an actual science. Like, there's an expert here. Once you have all of those things coming about, you really start to read energy and people and circumstances way differently.
Exactly. You can
way differently.
Listen, business moves,
everything else,
dates, life choices, shopping choices. You're like, really, do I need this? Like, especially when you start feeling like you go into your power. It's like maybe a different conversation, but when you move into your power, because God does live in us, and when you speak life, He created light out of nothing. You can start creating your own things. You start manifesting in your life when you hone into that power.
Yep.
That's basically dormant in you. And when you start doing that, you don't have to be like when I said before, like, oh my God, I gotta buy this now because it's a rare find. I can just be like, this will come again if it's for me. And you just move like that. If you have to force it, toss it. Just kind of like move in the energy of I can get this again.
Yeah, and you just read your impulse a little bit better, because one of the things that I try to do as much as I can when it comes to like any kind of shopping or any kind of decisions, you know, that are more on the spot. I'm trying to control my impulses in the sense that if I could sit on this for 10 minutes or 15 minutes and I come back to it and I still feel the exact same way, all right, maybe this is something that I really do want or need or whatever. But if I add, let's say we talk about shopping, if you add it to your shopping cart and you just let it sit in the shopping cart, you go about your business, you know, take a shower, run your errands, come back. If you still feel the same way about that item, fine. But chances are you probably won't, because you've given yourself a little bit of time just to control that impulse. So it's not so instant. You know, we live in a world now where everything is really just one click away. So it's creating a lot more of an instant need for something all the time. It's an instant need to swipe on a dating profile and match with somebody. It's an instant need to add something to a shopping cart and buy it. It's an instant need to see, you know, a flight deal and buy it without even knowing, you know, if you're going to have the time or if you're even going to have other priorities in the way. It's an instant thing to react to somebody through a comment online. Everything is so instant and our impulses are being stretched right now. And I think the people that are really mastering life, at least the people I look up to personally, are people who don't really have that kind of impulsive way of living. They are more strategic and they're more able to explain themselves. They can tell you why they did something, why they got something, why they went somewhere. The rest of us who are just kind of like, I just did it because, you know.
Right. You gotta be more
it was in my face, you know, it was there. And we have to be far more intentional. That's definitely the word. And just far more patient about things and just give ourselves the space to evaluate things better.
Yeah, and stop feeling like it's a loss.
Nothing is
like,
a loss.
You know, like if you purchase something or whatever, you're like, it's like, oh my God, I just spent all this money. It's a loss. No. It's more of a loss if your spirit is not in a peaceful state. Like, I feel like it's like, you know what? I'm gonna let this go because I think I'll lose more by continuing this, either friendship or whatever, if I keep trying. And it's just kind of like, you know what, let it go. And so I was just kind of like happy, and I was thankful for the relationship, that person who did that to me, to get me to a point where I needed to look at myself instead of blaming him. It was more of like, I started blaming myself, but now I started forgiving myself because I didn't know what issues I had that was still triggering or blocking my view on my vision on what's right in front of me. Like, if a person is telling me or showing me who they are, I should have believed them. But I was sitting there like, maybe.
I mean, we all do this. Everybody does this. And like I said, the winners, however you want to define winning, the winners come out on the other side of things with the ability to explain themselves, the ability to be more strategic, and the ability to sense things a lot faster and better than the average person. Those are the people that are winning across every category of life.
This is true.
You know, that's why I don't get too caught up in like the curated kind of view of social media. A lot of people might think like, oh, this person's doing so well, and they're crazy. They're completely incapable. And you would not know that because they're curating the presence that they want you to see. But the people who, when you take away all that stuff, take away the profiles, the social media presence, take away all that stuff, the people who are truly winning at life are the people that master their mind first and are able to then say, how do I navigate these other segments of my life now that I have this mindset, now that I understand how to make decisions, I understand myself, I can control my emotions, I can control my impulses. Right. Those are the real masters.
Yep, when they could stand in the middle of a room and not feel any type of way. Like, you know, you leave not leaving no type of odor. You just leave either enriching other people or inspiring other people by not even trying. Like, you just come in and people are like, yo, like,
this person was here. Like, they were here. They made their mark in a positive way.
Right. And like, that's what I want to be. Like, I'm not looking to be famous or anything like that. I'm just trying to make a change in the world through changing myself. Like, if I gotta do something small by like holding an umbrella for somebody because it's raining and they have no umbrella and they have kids with them, like, I wouldn't mind sharing that person. Like, love your neighbor as you love yourself. And when I started loving myself, I was able to easily love other people. You know what I'm saying?
That's usually how that works.
You know what I'm saying? You're like, you know what? Like, what's the point? Like I have an umbrella. No, it's all about a community. And you don't grow in isolation, you grow in community. And the more I took my therapy, I did isolate myself a little bit or go into solitude just to reflect and then go back into the community to be more of like, I guess, a productive.
Yeah. To be more present, to be able to even contribute, because that work has been done.
Yeah, I'm not trying to be no one else. I'm trying to be me. And before I can be me, I need to know who the hell I am.
To say the least.
And therapy definitely thing is. So thank you so much, Tameka. Your hair is already done. We finished on time and stuff. Yo, so thank you so much. This is actually an impromptu podcast recording. And Tameka, well, talk about what you do, because now that I have you, because yes.
What do I do? I work in the tech industry. I do marketing strategy for a living. But my passion outside of that I get to do as well is teaching. So that's something that I really care about, just in enriching the next generation of people. Yeah, I teach about business, but in reality, you're more than just their business teacher. You're really their guide in a lot of ways, and you get to influence them a lot more ways than you realize sometimes. So that's like what I do that I'm actually truly passionate about. So yeah.
Like a life coach almost? Like,
no, I teach at a business school.
Ooh,
part-time. Yeah.
What school?
At St. John's.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations with everything that you're doing.
Thank you. I'm trying.
And you're doing, and I can't wait till I want to hear when you go back to therapy.
Yes. And, hopefully I don't get fired again.
You won't, because there's times where I don't be wanting to go to therapy, but my therapist end up offering like phone sessions where I can call him.
Oh, that's great. That's great. I mean, any therapist that offers that flexibility, I think, is with the times.
Yeah.
That's a great thing.
Because sometimes you don't, especially if you suffering some borderline depression, you ain't trying to go outside.
No.
So when he offered that, it made the pressure came off.
There's also talk space for people who don't want to go the traditional therapy route and find somebody that they have to see in person all the time. There's also an online component where you do get to work with just one therapist. They're all licensed. So it might be worth considering as well.
Right. So, yep. So, guys, I'm telling y'all, I am an advocate. And you see, this conversation just led me there because I just felt like it was supposed to happen. Thank y'all so much for listening. It's your girl. Have a good one. I hope you're not snowzone. And again, Happy New Year. It's 2020. Make sure you focus and your vision is clear. Bye.
Bye.
What's happening? Thank you again for listening to Beauty and Braids. I'm your girl Karyne, and this has been another great day. Until next time, you'll hear from me then. In the meantime, please follow me on @HairByKaryne, @ShopBraidAppeal, and @YTC Nonprofit. Get to know me a little bit better. Check them out. Bye.